You know, while watching the video, I just watched it today. You see clearly an officer who encountered a subject at the time he was patrolling the area, observed a subject that was displaying some type of behavior that he believed was a subject that may have been in the influence of an inhalant, is what he thought at the time. When the video starts, you see the officer getting out of his patrol vehicle and making contact with this person who he had observed displaying these actions that he thought was under the influence. His immediate contact was asking the subject what he was doing, and almost immediately, within I think 20 seconds of the video, the juvenile at that time, not knowing he was a juvenile at the time, but the juvenile began to walk away from the officer. He had already had reasonable suspicion to stop and talk to the juvenile, detain him, find out what was going on, and that juvenile began to walk away. And unfortunately, in the video, that they both fall on the ground together. The juvenile, you know, he screams, and then the officer is able to find out during his course of his investigation, while the subject was detained on the ground, the juvenile did have autism. After a family member had come over and expressed to that, and it was kind of the incident was kind of played down a little bit, that everybody was able to get under control. The juvenile seemed okay. He kept telling the officer he was okay and whatnot.
So let me ask you this. Now, the officer David Rosner?
Yes, sir.
What's his training or specialty?
You know, as of still today and at the time of that incident, he is a drug recognition expert. He is with our training department, our traffic division.
Okay, so he's recognized people under the influence of drugs. Things like that.
Correct.
So now I've seen the video. People are going to watch this and think it comes down to what's reasonable. He walks up to the boy doesn't even understand him right away. He says, "What's happening? What's going on?" He says, "I'm okay." And then he says, "What are you doing?" He says, I don't mean to mock him, but this is how he sounds. "I'm stimming." And he goes, "It's a string." How does he not understand that that's juvenile? Because the boy looks young, and that maybe this isn't a drug situation. He's got to take a step back here and just maybe approach it a little different.
Yeah, and you know, I can't get in the officer's head on that particular day. It happened so fast, and as an officer, again, he observed the juvenile, what he was doing while he was just driving around, observed what his actions were, appeared as he may have been under the influence of what his actions that he saw him doing. When he did get out of the car, again, it just happened so fast, and the officer had to make that split-second decision when the subject began to walk away from him. And it happened fast after that as well. Like I said, I think 20 seconds into that video.
He doesn't really seem to walk away. He seems to turn and try to get away when he's grabbed, because maybe he's afraid. So I'm wondering why the officer decided to grab him when he showed him the string. It's just, that's tough for people to get their hands on. We get a lot of comments on this. People are saying.
I understand. Again, at that time, again, I can't get in the officer's head of what was going on through his head at that time, whether he specifically knew at that split-second time that this particular person was somebody who had autism. But based on his report, he didn't know. And again, it just happened so fast. He did attempt to detain the juvenile right away as he began to walk away, because based on what he had already saw, he had reasonable suspicion to keep that person there, to figure out what exactly was going on, whether it may have been related to disabilities, or whether it been that he was involved in some type of drug activity. They didn't get a chance to get to that point before everything happened so fast.
So now in your internal investigation, which I've read in some of the reports, you guys make the point that you didn't know how old he was. I've seen a picture of the boy. He walked up to him for several feet. I don't know if there's anybody that would ever look at this boy and think that he's not 14 or something, right? Or that he's even close to being a man.
Right.
Not even close. So I guess still, I mean, he comes up on this boy. He's a kid, and the boy is. There's really no doubt that there's probably something going on in terms of with a disability or something. He came on kind of hot, you know. Does the problem think he could have handled it better? I mean, you guys cleared him. I mean, do you think maybe it could have been handled better? Is there any sort of acknowledgement of that?
You know, I don't know if better would have been the term to use, again, because I'd be getting in the officer's head about what was going on on that time and what he thought was what he was dealing with. But we are going to learn from this and hopefully deal with these situations differently, and try and train all of our officers that this, as opposed to this, could be construed as somebody with autism.
What does it mean when someone who's a drug recognition expert who trains other officers recognition expert couldn't tell the difference between what happened here and drugs.
Right. And we are rapidly dealing with more and more people every day with all kinds of different disabilities who display all kinds of different reactions. And for this officer's sake, within his report and what I reviewed, he took at what he was doing as a drug recognition expert. He was displaying some type of behavior as possibly being under the influence. And when I say, he had reasonable suspicion, that's what he thought was going on at that time based on his training and experience. Once he gets out of the car and goes to contact the juvenile, that's when you figure out, maybe this juvenile has autism, we need to go a different route. That didn't get to happen on this particular time because it, again, happened so quickly. Again, when the officer was patrolling around the area and what the subject was displaying, what he was doing, it is in the report that you guys were given, but from reading it briefly, he was like smacking his hands together and like putting things like up to his mouth or his face area. The officer believed he was involved in inhaling something, involved in some type of drug activity.
So when the officer goes up, would you not be critical, but why not? Would he not look for that? Like, did he identify that inhaler? Because obviously it wasn't there, so we don't see the inhaler as he's walking up, and you're trained to kind of be very observant.
Right.
So what?
That's something, rapidly seeing. I mean, again, with the video that we all saw, and I've seen the whole video, I hope you guys have as well, 20 seconds is what we're dealing with here. It's an officer getting out of his car, and that's the start of his video, so it's a few minutes of drive time. He's in the car, you see the steering wheel, he's talking on the radio, and then 20 seconds him getting out, making contact with the juvenile, hey, what are you doing? And then so quickly he goes to kind of walk away. At that time, the officer had already decided this subject may be involved in drug activity. So, but unfortunately, the juvenile took it, he started to walk away, and then that's when they fell to the ground, and again, it just happened so quickly.
So if we were to look at this, if we were to look at those first 30 seconds, and we were to use this from a training perspective, would we say this is exactly what officers should do? Would everybody in this situation handle it exactly like this officer handled it? Or would we say, here's what we need to do?
I can't speculate on that. Unfortunately, this is what we're dealing with in this particular incident. We have taken the entire video from our department, and we will train officers with what happened in this incident and many other incidences involved with any type of disability, and hope to do things differently.
Hope to do things differently. So to be clear, by doing things differently, there were things that we probably wouldn't have done this way if we had a chance to do it again.
Again, no, I don't mean it that way. Again, what happened in this incident happened within 20 seconds time frame. Again, once the officer was already in his car, getting out, attempting to make contact with the juvenile. Within the whole video, and we learned a lot from this video, and I think Officer Grossman, once he found out that the juvenile did have autism, again, if you watch the entire video, things were died down very quickly with the juvenile, with the officer, with the caretaker coming over, and everything.
So one of the things I want to ask about is in the internal investigation, his response, and maybe in the report, and I don't want to misquote him, so I'll make sure I'll check on this in case I'm wrong. But he says, obviously, drug recognition expert, he knows what this drug activity looks like, especially with inhalants, and that in this area, I think he said he's seen it before. Has he? I mean, we know if the Town Square area, Dorado is an area where people do inhalants out in the open.
Unfortunately, I'm not on patrol, so I don't deal with this kind of stuff as being in the office. But he does note that he has seen that in the Dorado area. If it's inhalants or what type of drug it is, unfortunately, I don't have that. We can do that research and get that to you if need be.
I did file a public records request on Friday.
Okay.
Yeah, for that area. I'd love to see the calls for service in that area.
Okay, sweet.
Great. And then one thing I want to clarify for sure, we actually had a reporter check on this in the beginning of August. We just got an anonymous tip, not with near the information on the video that we had now. And they called your PIO office, and I don't think it was you that responded. I think it was Hoffmeister. I apologize if I got his name wrong. And our reporter took notes as she was listening, and she sent me those notes. And it says that they told us it wasn't really a story because he wouldn't show the officer what was in his hand. And so we kind of took that at face value. That's obviously not true. So the video does showing him it's a string, right? I mean, it shows him, right?
Again, I quickly watched it today, so I can't speculate on that as well. I don't want to give you anything that I may have not seen.
Okay. The family wants a face-to-face apology from Officer Grossman. They want introducing sort of community service with the autistic community, and they also want widespread training for the Department promise that this never happens again, maybe among other things. What is your department's response to that? Are you going to do that?
You know, from my understanding, we just received that this morning, and Chief just received that this morning. So he has to have time to review that and on his level decide what's going to happen. But I will tell you that we will take any type of training that we can get from, again, this incident, any other incident, and learn from and better ourselves from.
What are some of the things, you said earlier that Buckeye PD was going to learn from this. What are some of the things that you guys have learned this far from watching the video and
You know, in this particular incident, again, when the officer's patrolling the area and sees this particular subject doing the things he was with his hands, and he assumed it was drug activity, recognize that that may be a sign of some type of disability, autism in this case. So I think that's the one big thing that we could take away from it.
In this situation, you keep referring to this as a quick 20-second incident. I mean, 5 seconds could mean someone's life. If this boy would have put something in his pockets, he doesn't understand, his mental capacity does not understand what a law enforcement officer is. If he puts his hand in his pocket, that officer would think that he has the justification to pull out his weapon and possibly shoot him. What is your response to that? I mean, this could have been a totally different story than him getting up and walking away.
Right. You know, you are correct. I mean, officers in those situations make split-second decisions, and sometimes it has to do with those types of incidences. I don't want to speculate again on what could have happened in this situation. We are fortunate that that's not the case, that that's not how this incident played out. But again, you know, we can't speculate on that. But just understand that the officers out there patrolling have to make those split-second decisions. And we hope to, on top of us learning from these types of incidences, we hope that the public will again learn from our split-second decisions. Again, that video, we've released the entire video, but 20 seconds of that is what the officer had to go on his initial contact to make that decision, and it played out the way it did.
At the bottom of your release today, did I read correctly that there will be some kind of a voluntary registry of people with disabilities? Can you talk a little bit more about what that might look like?
Sure. I just got briefed up on that a little bit today, but that is a program that we are working on, starting here with the Buckeye Police Department. And what it is, it'll be a registry for any person with any type of disability. We encourage anybody who has disabilities of any type to come down, and we're going to put it out. You will register with the Buckeye Police Department, and basically what that means is we will have that information on that person, maybe a photo, what kind of triggers they may have and whatnot within our database. So when an officer is patrolling or they run somebody's name within our database, it'll show what their disability may be. And we've talked about maybe wearing different bracelets for autism, somebody with bipolar, and different types of disabilities that can better maybe outline to that officer making contact with those people that they may have a disability, and just to be reminded of that.
Is that a direct response to this incident?
You know, I'm not exactly sure on that. Again, that was just something brief to me today that we are going to be taking part in. I can find that answer for you if you'd like.
I know you keep going back to this 20 seconds. Certainly there's many died with roughly 21 seconds.
Right.
That being said, that's the world that you live in.
Ap-
That's your world.
Yes,
It's
sir.
my world, it's your world.
Yes, sir.
So based on the fact that that is your world, if we ask you about those 21 seconds, were mistakes made in those 21 seconds?
You know, that's not for me to say. There was an internal investigation in this. The internal investigation decided that there was no type of use of force made within this incident. But that's not for me to say, but for the report to outline.
One of the things that I heard, and I'm hopefully going to be getting, is perhaps some of the extra video was obtained, I think, by the family or its attorney for public records request. And there was maybe a witness that was interviewed that said he believed the officer body slammed or took the kid down. I didn't see any reference to that in the report, so I'm going to have to check that video and see what it corresponds to the report. But if so, why wouldn't that have been included in any of the reports?
You know, from everything I've read today, and I've watched the entire video start to finish, all the reports I've read to include the internal investigation, I didn't see anything referenced to that.
Okay.
So you're saying the internal investigation
It is, yes.
so a decision has been made.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you summarize what the decision was in a sentence?
again, just the internal investigation, I think it's available for you to have as well, the entire report. But just that no use of force was found within this incident, and we will take training from this incident and better equip our officers and just better teach them with, like I said before, the signs and reactions that somebody may be doing prior to a contact. Like I said, in this situation, the officer driving in the area, that may be a sign of somebody with autism as opposed to doing drugs.